to say I'm so sorry. I mean, it must seem really rude of us, but I can't actually say.
Right.
I think that's probably everything then. I mean...
Back at HQ, Nick has called the local newspaper to chase up the leak on the Wilmington necklace.
Who was the anonymous source that she was dealing with?
Right, well, unfortunately, we don't know who that anonymous source was because they left a note at the office on the day before yesterday stating that they'd handed over a necklace to you. Is that right?
Right, okay. I'd like to get hold of that.
That I could probably arrange. We could probably sort that out tomorrow, yes.
Team 2 are going to see George Howick. George was Catherine's piano teacher, and she was at his house on the morning of the murder. He lives on an island accessible only by boat, and a causeway that is flooded twice a day by the tide. Their line of inquiry is to question him over his alibi. At the time of the murder, George claims he couldn't get off the island because of a high tide. But it's not a complete alibi, as he could have left by boat.
Mr. Howick. Hi there, my name's Richard Sharrocks, and this is my colleague, Andy Weaver. We're from the Special Investigators.
Richard?
Richard, yes. And Andy.
Team 2 won't find George an easy interviewee. He likes to play games with people.
Ask away, what do you want to know?
The day that Catherine was murdered, can you tell us a little bit about what you did that day?
Richard, tell me. Ask me a question. I'm going to ask you a question. Give me an answer. Are you married?
I am, yes.
Have you got children?
Not yet.
You haven't got... How long have you been married?
Just a year.
What's your wife's name?
Julie.
Julie. What a lovely name, Julie. Are you going to have children?
Oh, yes. We're practicing at the moment.
You're practicing. Lovely, lovely.
I think the suspect that I've best interacted with is got to be George Howick. The guy's completely barking mad, but he's just so nice. And as long as you could go along with his madness and his liveliness and his personality, then you could, have a fantastic time.
Andrew, are you married?
Yes, George.
Have you got children?
Yes, George.
I bet you have. You look a lovely dad. Tell me about your children.
They're expensive, George.
They are expensive, yes, I've heard that. I haven't got any children myself, but I've heard they are expensive. Thank you for answering my question, though, Andrew. I'll give you some information now, then. I was evacuated here. I was evacuated to the Wilmington estate. And who looked after me? But Dottie. Do you know what happened there?
What can you tell us about it, Dottie?
What I can tell you, Richard, is that it was rumoured at the time that Charles... Who's Charles, Richard?
That is,
Who's Charles, Richard?
That's Tony's father.
Yes! Excellent! That's Tony's father. That she was pregnant at that time, and it was rumoured that Charles was the dad. What do you think about that? Andrew's writing all this down. What do you think about that, Andrew? Did you know anything about this?
George, here.
I'll be there. Hello, Ron.
Hello, George.
Quite ready to see you.
I brought them all back.
You brought the boat back. No, this is my friend Ron.
Sorry, I didn't know you.
This is Richard, and this is
How are you?
Andrew.
Hi.
Andrew.
Pleased to meet you.
Yes. Have I got a fish today?
No, you haven't got this today. Look, did you see the paper there? See what I called that week?
Look.
You've seen that?
No.
That's me and me elephant.
Yes!
£28, that was.
Yes, look at that. Look, there he is. There's Rod. Whopper of the month.
It certainly is.
When was that, when was that taken?
Week before last. It was Tad's birthday, so it was, 2 weeks ago today?
The hidden test for Team 2 is to realise the picture was taken on the day of the murder.
Look, paper.
When did you take the boat, or how long did you have it that time?
Same as, I left about 6 in the morning, same as this morning.
So you took it in the morning?
Well, it would have been about midday when I got back with that.
Would it be the Monday or the Tuesday?
I don't know what day it was. Monday.
Right, okay. Interesting.
Andrew?
Pleasure
meeting you.
Sorry, I'm
going to rush you off now, but we've got to go. We've got to catch the tide and things.
Incident room, Nick speaking.
Hi, it's Richard.
We just finished talking to George, and we believe that
he's given us an alibi for the murder.
Right.
It's in fact on the back page of the paper.
Okay, yeah.
On the back page of the paper, there's a guy there with a huge halibut. That was the guy I wanted.
Yeah.
And it was on the day of the murder.
Rodney Lewis.
Yeah. on the day of the murder, he borrowed George's boat.
Right then. Okay, are you coming back now then?
We are, yeah. We're just trying to find our vehicle. He's driven off without us, so we're just trying to find him at the moment. Okay, we'll let you know. Okay, cheers, Nick. That's it, bye.
What Richard and Andrew don't realise is that they are now stranded alone on George's Island. The tide has come in and covered the causeway, leaving their vehicle and driver on the wrong side.
Hi Nick, it's Richard. Just wondering if you know anything about where our drivers has run off to.
Oh, no, not at all.
So we're trying to check up, because he abandoned us here.
Right.
So we're just trying to see if we've got transport home.
Okay, I'll give him a ring, see if I can help.
Yeah, no drama.
Alright, bye.
Thanks, bye.
Any thoughts?
None at all, Richard. At this moment.
Neither Nick nor Mel appear too bothered that Richard is stranded.
I'd definitely like to see him go. I said everyone else is just on the same level. We all get on so well and we all have the same sort of mentality about things, but he always has to get that one better, you know.
Can you hear that snoring?
Yeah. Is that Rory?
It's Rory on the settee.
With Rory snoring on the couch, Mel grabs the chance to influence the direction of the lead investigator's vote.
I said, now I'd like to think I've got a bit of a chance. And I said, I'm not just saying this because you're here. And I said, I would love it for me and Nick to be the last two. And I said, I wouldn't care who won. I said, I'd just like it for me and Nick to be right to the end. A couple of weeks ago.
Being lead investigator gives you a slight bit of power, and it also allows you to be perhaps a bit more perceptive of how people are dealing with you. If people have been a bit off with you for weeks on end, and then suddenly this week they're really nice to you, you think, oh yeah, I know why you're sucking up to me this week, because you don't want me to pick you.
You're a good leader and you've done everything so well. And like what Meryl was saying about you last week, it's just brilliant to work with.
Back on the island, and darkness is fast approaching. Richard and Andrew are stuck, and temperatures are dropping below zero. For Andrew, it's not where he's stuck, it's who he's stuck with.
So difficult to get on with him. I mean, he wants to win this game more than anything in the world.
Andy knows his own limitations, and so, you know, he thinks that I'm a little bit better than himself, so he lets me get on with it, and that works for me quite nicely.
Actually, when you look at it, it's a little bit sad. I don't think he's got a great many friends, actually.
Meanwhile, Andrew and best mate Richard are deep in conversation on the effect of the moon on tidal flows.
And you get the sort of the lowest tides, but when the Earth's in between the moon and the sun. But you can predict it all because you know where the sun and the moon and the Earth will be in relation, so you can predict it all. And you come up with an almanac which gives you tide times. You know, you can do that many years in advance, so you can do tide times and sunrise, sunset. It's the same every day. You know. Throughout the year, you can predict that. The time between tides based on how long it takes the moon to go around the Earth and all that sort of malarkey.
2 hours later, and Richard has calculated that the tide should be low enough to cross the causeway on foot. Richard and Andrew have been stalked by the killer, who has fired a flare, illuminating a board with a taunting message, coming out to play. It's the invitation to the next Killer's game. Polaroid photos show 2 locations: the old quarry